This is Guerrilla Business Mentoring Module 3. Now, Module 3, Leo, is before and after customer matrix. The reason I said Leo is because he said I've been doing this before. And this means fuck you in the United States with the middle finger. So I'm going to point with my pointing finger so that it means I love you. So before and after matrix, the customer matrix for before and after is my absolute favorite module because I think it is the most powerful one, the simplest to learn, the easiest to implement, and I want you to give extra time in really learning it. And I've given you plenty of case studies in the Facebook group members area where you have a blank worksheet where you can print out many of them. You can do it for other people. You can do it for yourself. And then I've given you another group of, I think, 10 pages where there's some before and afters. And it starts with a page that looks like this, which I printed out. So pay close attention. Last time we talked about the company, in growing the company, the growth ramp of a company. This is about the market and how to have on one page exactly the beginnings of the conversation with that target audience, with that niche, with the potential customer or client, based on the shift and the transformation that we're expecting in them and they're expecting of themselves. Now, on one of your worksheets, you have this, says, a great sales message simply articulates the shift, which I like to call the transformation from the before state to the after state. So there is a before and there's an after. And how do you articulate that? Well, nothing is more powerful than putting it on one page, like the growth ramp. Everything we do is one page. So what is the before and after matrix, and why is it important? It's a single page that is not the avatar, but is the mental and emotional state of the customer, if you know who they are, and identifying where they are before, where they are after, and articulating, expressing, communicating what their status is, what their average day looks like, what they feel, what they have, what the good and evil is in their life. The evil is the common enemy that they have. Having a common enemy is good. In fact, a common enemy will unite a nation, a sovereign nation. It usually means war, which is not fun to think about, but you take that same psychology, and if there's an enemy in the marketplace and you know that it's non-negotiable to work with them, then it gives that client a very clear idea of what not to do, which many times is more important than what to do. So the customer matrix that I have filled out looks like this. I've done it by hand. And then the notes I've taken looks like what I'm showing you here. And this is from my notebook, which is called the Growth Ramp Notebook that I filled out myself, belonging to a $30,000 mastermind called War Room, right? So it is war, but people aren't dying here. Instead, you're winning customers from other people. So the before is the unhappy state, the pain state. The after is the happy state. And they're very clear on where they are, unless they're in denial. Getting them to believe that they can go where they need to go, that's the job of the mentor. But even more important, if you can really identify their point A, their pain state, their before state, if you can articulate that in a way where they believe you, then they will even believe you more that you can take them where they want to go because they feel understood. So how does the before and after, the BA matrix, work step by step? Well, there's only 4 steps, and it's in the general curriculum, which I sent you a while back, and that's also in the Facebook group under files. And there are 4 steps to the matrix. Now, these 4 steps need to be handled in a specific sequence, and I'm going to show you the sequence in just a moment. Now, if you looked at it on one page, and this is on one of your handouts, the first step is the customer segment that you're going after. The second is the before, and the third is the after, and the fourth is the actual product or service or the message. So you're going to guess on what the segment is. You're not going to guess what the before is. You're not going to guess what the after is. You're going to state that. And then you're also going to guess what the product or service could be. You'll notice that the product or service or the message is last. Now, most people you'll deal with GBO business, they will start with the message. They will start with the product or service. I have this product or service, and then they don't think of the before, they don't think of the after, they don't think of certain segments. To them, the segments are everybody. And that's a big mistake because, first of all, it's not professional. Secondly, it's not clear. And third, it's very difficult to have a clear message to a group of people, which I'll show you several case studies, which you have in the Facebook members area, where it's very, very clear what that segment is. A segment means a part of a group, not women, not moms, but moms who have a need to do something, okay? Not digital marketers, not digital marketers who are beginners, but beginning digital marketers who have no idea who their target audience is, right? Which we could call avatar training as the product, service, or the message. So if you go, you start with the segment, the before, the after, and then the actual product idea, then you'll do it very, very responsibly. The more you see it, the more familiar you'll get with it. Initially, when you look at something for the first time, it won't make sense because it's not familiar to you. But as you get more and more familiar with it, it's really the easiest of all the modules. So the segment, the first step where you start is the customer segment. And I'm going to give you an example of customer segments that I'm guessing for my Beyond Book Sales project that I'm going into next year. And Beyond Book Sales is having an author who's self-published, and I'm going after certain segments. Now, they have to be self-published. They can't work with the traditional publisher. The traditional publisher is the evil because the traditional publisher takes 100% control of creative and lets you negotiate with them. They take 100% control of distribution and lets you negotiate with them. They're willing to give you 10% of the royalty of sale as the author. They make you do 100% of the work to promote, market, and produce the book. And they keep 90% of it because they take a risk, and many times they pay in advance. That's traditional publisher. That's the enemy. That's the common enemy. That's the evil. The good is self-publishing, where you take back total and complete control of the process. Now, there's a reason why the market segments I'm going after don't think it's possible to do a self-published book, and I will discuss why I believe that's true. Now, all of this is theory because I haven't tested it. Now, as soon as I tested it, it may be wrong. As soon as I approach people, it may be wrong. But this is a starting point where I have one page of before, after, customer segments and products and services, where I'm making a very calculated and educated guess, and then I'm testing that educated guess by approaching the markets and seeing if what I've stated is true, not just what I think is true. Right now, it's what I think is true. So the three market segments that you would see in my section 1 would be franchisors. Those are franchises. McDonald's is a franchise, but there are thousands of franchisors in the world. The franchisor is the mothership, is the main company. I'm dealing with franchisors that have 500 or more franchisees. Franchisees pay a franchise fee and then pay royalties for sales because the franchisor has systems for the franchisee to succeed. Subway is an example. McDonald's, of course, is an example. Franklin Covey of the time management books and tools that they use. Stephen Covey started that, and now he's no longer around, but the company's still there. So franchisors, I'd be going after the CEO of franchisors who have 500 or more franchisees, okay? A CEO of a company, not a franchisor, but a company who wants to self-publish a book, not traditional publishing, but wants to write and self-publish a book and make it a bestseller with 500 or more employees. Now, would I go after someone with 100 or more employees? I would. But ideally 500 or more employees. There's a reason for that. And then MLM or network marketing leaders with 10,000 or more downline. So these are three market segments. These are completely different. Now, a CEO with 500 employees could be a franchisor because franchisors have 500 or more employees, but they're the employees of the franchisor. I'm looking for franchisors who have 500 or more franchisees. They're not employees. They are actually the sales distribution network who are paying royalty to the franchisor, the mother company, in order to take advantage of their systems, their documentation, and all their processes. And together they're doing advertising and joining in collaboratively to make the franchise succeed. So that's different than a CEO in, let's say, in Silicon Valley, which is about 100 kilometers from where I'm sitting. There are CEOs that have 500 or more employees, like LinkedIn, right? CEO, LinkedIn, 500 or more employees. They may not be the right fit for me. They may not want to self-publish, but if they are, then that would be ideal for me. Now, would I go after a CEO with 100 or more employees? I would, but not less than that. And there's a reason for that. MLM leaders, let's say there's a downline of 10,000 or more. Now, if they had 5,000 or more, would I go after them? I would, but I wouldn't go after someone with 1,000 or more, because out of the 10,000, there's maybe 200 who are really active. If you know something about network marketing, that's what happens. If they're willing to self-publish, which MLM leaders are willing to self-publish, they do, then we can teach them how to write the book. We can have them written for them and then provide our services, which I won't get to because these are the three market segments that I'm personally going after next year. So I'm showing you what I'm doing without having done it yet. I'm using the before-after customer matrix as a tool to eventually adapt, revise, and see which part of my hypothesis, hopefully all of the segments, but I'm hoping one will come out to be profitable. Then I focus on that one. So I like to work with three segments and not just one. Again, it's a guess. Okay, it's a guess. If it fails, then you go to the next one. It's life. Now, step two, the before. So in the before, you're not describing the company, like in the growth ramp, like how many sales, how many employees they have. You're describing what the customer has right now as the before. You're also describing what they're feeling. There should be some tension, that there's uneasiness of what's happening in their life. What's their average day look like? If you know their average day, then you have a story, you have a journey each day. They may be bored. They may be overworked. For example, a CEO's average day who's motivated and is inspired to write their own book, their average day is maybe 12 hours. They start writing their book after they put their family to bed. They don't feel like they have enough time. They wake up in the morning, they start writing again. And then they don't have enough energy to go to their main work. So that's what I'm guessing their average day is for the person who wants to write a book. They're overwhelmed. They don't think it can happen. And they don't know, they think that they could promote it because they're probably pretty good promoters. If they're an MLMer with 10,000 downline, a franchisor with 500 franchisees, or a CEO with 500 or more employees, but it's overwhelming just to get the book done because they have a full day's work. So their average day is very important for me to describe, because if I get it, now how do I find out? I say, what's your average day look like? I'm not asking just any CEO, I'm asking the CEO who wants to write a book, whether it's traditional publisher or not. What's your average day look like? Routinely, the traditional publisher is not going to help them write the book. They may have an editor, but they may give them references on who can help write the book or ghost write the book or interview them, but they don't have that process really down. Then the status. What is the status? Well, a CEO without a book, let's say they don't have a best-selling book. That would be an ideal person for me to go after, and they want a bestseller. That person is a lion without a roar. That's a non-roaring lion. It's like a lion who's looking into a mirror and sees a little kitten. Now, I've seen just the opposite. A kitten looks into the mirror and sees the lion, but this CEO is a lion who is ahead of the pack, he or she, and is not playing big because they don't have a legacy, they don't have a best-selling book. Their status is not as much as they'd like it to be, because they know if they had a book written, they probably would be on the board of directors of other companies, or maybe with the annual trade association meeting, they could be one of the speakers on stage, but they haven't proven themselves because they don't have the status symbol of a written book. Okay, I think you see where I'm going with this. And then finally, the good versus evil. What does the before look at as good and evil? I like to look at evil. Evil is they don't have enough time. They don't know what publishers to talk to. They know that they want to have a book for their legacy and for an additional training tool for their employees to create more empowered core values for their organization. Now they have a book that they could hand to a new hire to read on behalf of the CEO, but they don't have that. So the good is creating something they don't have time for. The evil is all the time that's getting in the way. Good and evil is not only people. Good and evil also is going against time or the head trash that they may be dealing with. Now, step 3. So once you know the before, the after becomes a little easier. And really, you just have to research the before and get to know it. It's not that difficult to do, if you ask. So again, the after is the same stage, is what do they have now after working with you? What do they feel after working with you or after taking them through the process? What's their average day look like now? Well, for me, the average day for the CEO could be having their executive assistant handle inquiries to have him or her speak on stage. They now have a platform on YouTube and on Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook about their book. What they have after we've repurposed it, their average day after we've done radical repurposing week after week of their book, now they have this big net of branding that they're casting so that their status goes up because they're everywhere. They're everywhere, and not just inside their company, but other people know them, and they're rubbing shoulders with other CEOs with just as many employees, but those CEOs do better with promotion than they have. And then the good versus evil, well, what the evil is the traditional publisher who's going to take 90% of the profits from the book and 100% creative control and make them market the book. The good is if they hire beyondbooksales.com, my repurposing group of people within marketing online, same people, what's going to happen is they're going to have everything done for them. They're going to have direction. They're going to have a content calendar or editorial calendar, like you learned in the 4-step GBO process of, each week they're going to take the table of contents, and each week we're going to say, this is what you need to do. We'll have them pre-record things so that they don't have to do it week after week after week. They don't have to do it live if they don't want. And they're going to have a much bigger presence for the company, which is the CEO's job, is being the outside person for the company, and the operation officer of the company is the inside person to integrate and manage what the CEO creates. The key point is good versus evil. The key is to identify this common enemy. And the common enemy can be time. It can be mindset. It could be a mishire, hiring the wrong person. That could be a common enemy. A common enemy could be a company that's stealing intellectual property from you. In my case, it's the traditional publisher. Okay. Another key point is the common enemy is your non-negotiable. It's what they refuse to say yes to. And it's not just people, as I mentioned. So for example, if the CEO says, Alex, I want to do it. I'm going to pay you $100,000 for the year. And, thank you. This is a great service. And I'm going to go with the traditional publisher. Alex is going to say no. And I also have Sandra to say no if I somehow said yes. So the non-negotiable is if it's not self-published, we are not going to do it because we lose control, we lose impact, and we lose the ability of being adaptable and making mistakes because the publisher has its own agenda. Not their fault, but it's an obsolete model. For beyond book sales, the common enemy, the evil, is the traditional book publisher or distributor. So the book really doesn't have to start being published traditionally. Eventually, it could be, like after we get 30,000 sales, now a publisher will even pay more money. And now the publisher has more confidence because they're not taking a risk. They have a proven model, and their distributors don't take a risk. A distributor is different than the publisher. So for example, Random House is a publisher, Wiley & Son is a publisher, but a distributor is Ingram. A distributor is Books A Million. The distributor and the publisher are two different things. The distributor distributes and doesn't own the copyright, and the publisher owns the copyright with the author. That's another reason why I want to go self-publish, so that we own the copyright outright, and we can repurpose it in any country and in any way possible. Is it more work? Yes. Does it give more control? Yes. What does the CEO want? Control. They want options and control. Step 4 is the product and service. So the product and service for beyond book sales is a done-for-you service to produce the book, this book production, meaning you're going to write the book, you're going to have a cover, a title, a subtitle, you're going to get the ISBN number, all the things to produce the book. That's the most difficult thing to do. And we can have it done for us with Scribe, which used to be Book in a Box with Tucker Max, who's a good friend of mine. They're very good at it, much better than we possibly could ever be in the next 3 years. So where they end, we begin. So the first part of it is, of the product and service, is the done with you book production. Then done for you book promotion is where I have the virtual book tour. You know what that is? Where today we do Facebook Live. If they have over 100 employees, that's good because we're going to have every one of them buy the Kindle version for 99 cents. We get bestseller status. We get over 100 5-star reviews. And now the algorithm on Amazon kicks in and they're sustainable. They're showing up with other books saying, if you bought this, you may want to buy this. And if we buy it, if we become bestseller in multiple categories, Amazon suggests 3, but you can have as many as 15 subcategories. They can be a bestseller in other subcategories for a year. And it only helps because now Amazon is a buyer's platform, as you know. It's not a browser's platform. And so they're only going to bring more traffic to it internally. And that's the trick we play with the virtual book tour. Now, take that to the next level, and it's called book profit. So production, promotion, profit. Now, this is my service, right? And that's going to be done for you, where we're going to take the table of contents, and the author is going to do videos, which we can pull audio from, and we can pull written transcripts from, and do exactly what I do every single week as a result of the Facebook Live Fridays that I do, which I got done about an hour and a half ago, and Leo produces. So with the Facebook Live, the middle section is the masterclass. That goes into masterclass theater. It's no longer Best of Alex. You'll see it's masterclass theater, and you'll get access to that as soon as it's done. We're almost done. I'm just doing the overview videos. It's just gorgeous, and it's going to be sold a la carte, or it'll be part of GBO as well. GBO is push button influence, productivity secrets. It used to be Best of Alex. Now it's called Masterclass Theater because they're all master classes, right? About 30 to 40 minutes. And then web communication secrets. All those can also be sold a la carte. So with the Beyond Book Sales concept, I don't need to be attached to that. I don't need to do master classes for that. I just need the right people in the right seats in the, I don't want to call it a bus, in the minivan, because a minivan has fewer seats than a bus. And I put them in the right seats, and they can do the work without me. So that way, when I'm teaching GBI in Amsterdam, Beyond Book Sales is still going strong. So will it take effort to build? It will. Is it a product or service that's needed in the market? Yes. What makes it different? Well, the virtual book tour makes it a little different. There are many people who teach and assist in writing a book, and they do it very, very well. A self-publishing school also comes to mind, and there are several others. But what makes it so different is the virtual book tour, for one, where I am required to be there, but then the radical repurposing, which is 52 weeks of repurposing of that book. So if you did it for 52 weeks, they wouldn't do it because they don't have the capacity to do it, they being the CEO or the network marketer or the franchisor, but we would do it for them. We would drive them to do it. They would create the content and produce that, and then we would optimize it and get it out into the marketplace. It's a very exciting opportunity. I think it's an 8-figure business opportunity. I don't think it's a hundreds of millions of dollars opportunity, but I think it's definitely over a $10 million opportunity. And the reason I came up with the idea was I just wanted to cover my costs for repurposing by doing repurposing for other people using the existing team. The team may not look like it does right now, and that will be a result of where and what direction we go in 2019 as it relates to repurposing, because the repurposing team has to be experienced. So, for example, Leo can produce the virtual book tour no matter what. You know, I mean, there's no one else who would do it better than him, because the experience there, he has more than most people do. And through our organization, we've done it more than most people do. But as far as repurposing goes, there'll be other people involved that I'll have to bring on because they have more experience than other team members on our team. In fact, creating the book, it may not even be Sandra, because there are other people who can do it better. Sandra has been certified through Mike Koenig's, through an introduction, that I made, over a year ago or 2 years ago. She's very good at it. And there are other people who can do it much, much better so that she can focus on managing the process versus actually interviewing the CEO and doing through all that. The goal for me, and the reason I'm doing it, is to scale my business so that I don't have to be physically involved, because there are other parts that I do need physical involvement. The key point for the product and service is the message comes last in the before and after matrix, which is all about the market. It's all about the niche. So if you remember anything, remember this one thing. The product and service comes last after you're familiar with the segment that you're guessing. Remember, not one, not two, but at least 3. I just put out the power of 3 in my All Selling Aside podcast. I encourage you to listen to that, because there is a power in 3. 4 and 5 is okay, but 3 different segments, and they're guessing. They have to do the work. They have to research. The biggest challenge I found with the GBO people is they don't do the work. They don't even study. They don't show up the way you do. So they expect this magic of digital online marketing is as if it's going to take care of itself, and it's so, easy to make money. It's not easy to make money. It's simple, but it's not easy. You have to do the work, and the hardest work is in the very beginning, because you typically will guess wrong the majority of the time. The key point, the before-after matrix, reveals the customer shift on one page. It's not just a shift. The customer shift is not just a shift. It is a transformation. They're not just shifting like I talk about in my 4-part video series, marketingonlinementor.com. They're just not shifting. It's also known as a transformation, and it's a before and after. So I'm going to talk about some case studies that are in your case study book, but I want to handle any questions you may have right now before I go into the case studies. Remember, first thing you do is the customer segments. You're guessing. Next is the 5 sections of the before, the 5 sections of the after is number 3, and then different product ideas as a result of that. So the book production part, that can be one track that we offer just to write the book. If they want us to promote the book, we can add that track on, and that's the virtual book tour and getting Amazon certified reviews. A certified review is they bought the book and they're reviewing. A 99-cent Kindle is purchasing the book. And we like to keep the Kindle price at 99 cents for about 10 days, 7 to 10 days. And then the book profit comes from the radical repurposing, putting it into other forms, because a book is just one spoke in the bicycle wheel, right? It's only one media channel. There's all these other channels where the book can be explained, and you have a table of contents. So why not repurpose that? And if you ever wanted to write a book, you would go through the exact same process of doing it this way, producing it, promoting it, then profiting from it through repurposing. Most people stop after the promotion. People lose contact, they get bestseller status, and that's the end of it. The bestseller status for me is like going to MMI. Okay, that's one point in time. MMI is the beginning of the year or 2 years for Quantum Leap. I don't know anyone else who's gone through as fast as Leo Fernandez has, but most people will take 1 to 2 years to go through Quantum Leap, and it all started with MMI. So a book author who just stops at the promotion with MMI, that would mean that they just didn't buy, they didn't continue. That's the same thing as how I see it. The event, the promotion is the end, versus for me, it's the beginning to repurpose the thing. And I think it's a very solid idea. It's worth testing. I'm going to learn a lot, even if it fails, because I'll be rubbing elbows with people I already know. And I'm really good at converting high-end and high-ticket sales. I'm good at that. You know, how many $100,000 clients we've had, how many $60,000 clients, how many $30,000 clients. So we're really good at that. I'm just changing that unique ability to a different market segment and a different product offering. That's all I'm doing. I'm taking the one thing that worked. Here's a key thing that I didn't write down. Change the segment, don't change the model. Change the market segment, but don't change your marketing model. I've made the mistake over the years of changing the marketing model when I had a great model, but it just didn't work for a specific segment. For example, if I am going after ZLM for $15,000 sales, and most of those people are broke, most of those people have credit card debt that is unhealthy, most of the people think that through the law of attraction, money is going to come falling from the sky. Well, that's the wrong market segment. ZLM is a great offer. It's a great product or service. Michelle Bassett's done a great job through my direction in creating the curriculum. Module 4 is done now, and Module 5 will be done before the end of the year. So we have 5 modules, but the traffic that Dr. Joe Vitale is sending me, which was our agreement, is not the right segment to enroll people because they are broke. They have no money, they're walking wounded, and unfortunately, they have a different mindset. They're very positive, but they're over-motivated underachievers, which is why the business has not got off the ground. It was surprising to me because the information I was told by Dr. Joe was a much different picture than what I've experienced. So there was no way for me to find out until I actually did it. But what he told me and what happened in the previous 3 years and why he was moving on, I think he was telling me the truth. I think he didn't realize how poorly his market segments were doing with the other company, which is called The Chief out of Utah, how they were doing. All of you have gone through that. All of you didn't get callbacks. Most of you didn't anyway. They're not a very, I think, responsible organization. But I was told how much they were generating, and I thought, well, we can do better than them. And so that hasn't turned out. So I go back and I have another discussion with Joe and his team saying, all right, let's change our market segment. Let's not change the model. Rather than, like, for example, Sandra said, let's get rid of ZLM. I've thought, hey, I got to get rid of ZLM. This thing has cost me a lot of money. We're not making any money. I mean, other people are making money and I'm not, right? And so why am I paying for a job to lose money? And then I thought to myself, after I listened to other very smart people on stage, change the market segment, don't change the marketing model. So rather than letting go of ZLM and this diamond that's been created, and the coaches are more than capable of coaching, rather than closing that down and just letting the coaches coach till the end of the year and then finish it, why not change the segment and see if we can make it work that way? So that's what this before and after matrix has done. In fact, if you wanted to do an assignment, those of you who do ZLM and are wanting to do ZLM coaching, Diana being the most recent, do a before and after matrix for ZLM. See what happens. I would have Michelle do that too. She would be the most uniquely qualified because she's been inside the content, which is really her first time she's ever done it. She's done a great job in doing that. So Michelle, if I know you're watching, you better be. Why don't you do a before after matrix for ZLM? It's a great practice. You can do before and after matrices for any company. For any company, it's just really good practice, and it gives you a new form of a language that all of you had no idea existed. I'm practically guaranteeing it, but I may be wrong. I doubt that any of you have done a before and after matrix. This is taking GBO business to a whole new level, and this is what you signed up for a ridiculously affordable tuition to learn this. So this module is all about before and after, and before and after has case studies. That's where you learn how to do it, looking at the case studies and seeing how these things are filled in. So I promised you Q&A, so let's do Q&A now so that I don't get too far ahead of myself. Go for it. Jackie.
Thank you, Alex. What evidence would we be looking for from our clients to show that they have a really good handle on what the before and after is, and they just didn't make it up?
They're going to make it up, and you have no evidence. The easiest way to find out how far away they are from the truth is ask them, how do you know this to be true? Who have you surveyed? Who have you interviewed? Have you ever been an intern for your competitor? What have you researched? The one thing that the majority of people don't do, over 99%, is enough research. They don't do enough research. They guess. Their heart draws them in. There's no logical, quantifiable research where they know beyond a shadow of a doubt that this is true. And the easiest way is to identify competitors, which they say, well, I don't have any. I say, well, that's not good. So there is no way for you to know. Your job is to coach them, not to do it for them. So how do you know this is true? Where did you get this evidence? And see what they say. If anything, it's going to make you a better marketer because you probably do the same shit they do, right? So you probably are lazy at research. You probably don't do it nearly enough as you could. And I'm just as guilty of it, right? If you don't accept that to be true, I'm just as guilty of it. I want to get to the sale. But the research is where you're going to find out what these people have. I mean, you can go deeper. You can look at what are their basic fears and, what are their aspirations? I teach that with Avatar, but in this case, it's so basic. Like, what do they have right now? As a product or service, as an experience of what they're doing. What are they feeling as a result of that? What's their average day look like, right? And just go through this process. Most important thing is, what is the evil that they should be aware of? Now, if the CEO is not aware that the traditional publisher is the evil, that's the best service I could provide for him or her. They may not think. They think, I'm going to go through a traditional publisher. They think the writing is the hard part. No. Promoting with a traditional publisher is the hard part, especially if you're a first-time author. If you're a best-selling author, you have different advantages, and the publisher looks at you differently. When Barack Obama gets a $20 million signing bonus, I don't think anyone's has ever gotten more than a $20 million signing bonus, or maybe Michelle Obama, his wife. But why do they do that? Because they were first lady and former president of the United States. I'm not going to buy his book, but a lot of people will, right? And so you look at that. Al Gore, former vice president, why do they get a huge signing bonus? Because they had a platform. They're out there. When a news commentator writes a book and the book is on the news and they're saying, hey, get my next book. These days it's about politics. So it's either for Trump or against Trump in this country, right? And either way, they have built-in book sales. Half the country will buy it. Half the country will think it's the enemy, right? So it's still almost a sure thing to sell books. So as a result, what you want to do is just ask them how they know and coach them through it. And through that coaching and seeing how blind they actually are and how much of their hopes they're pinning on their own thoughts, you're going to heal and you'll make yourself a better business person as a result, because you're probably doing something very similar to what they're doing. But there'll be a nice reflection to mirror back to you saying, I don't know what the before and after is. Or maybe they say something with before and after and you go, this doesn't seem right. How do you know this? And they say, just because I know. Well, just because I know is not scientific enough. Okay? You know because you've done some research and you've talked to people. I've talked to people. How many? 3. Is that enough? Is that enough to pin the future of your business and feeding your children? 3 people? How much does it cost to ask people? I used to pay people to ask them. I'd pay for like a half-hour consultation just to talk to them, right? So they're failing in research. And so as long as you know that, ultimately, my hidden agenda with all of you is to make you not only better coaches, but think differently as a business person so you come to my level and we can really talk shop. Not, well, I don't know business, it's complicated, I don't have an MBA, or that's not what I do. I can do the inner game coaching, but not business. No, you can do business. There's no question, as long as you have the right tools to do that part of the business. And Diana is a very good example. I mean, when I'm doing these modules, I'm always thinking of her because she told me for so many years, I'm not business, not business, not business. And then here, and she was thinking about not signing up because of another commitment. And here she is. And I'm glad that she's here because I know she's business and she has a new client who needs business support in powering down his debt, not just mindset. Stop charging credit cards, right? Just stop. Stop doing other stuff that is getting in the way. Over motivated underachiever. So I'm very optimistic that one credit card at a time, the first credit card that goes, we have a victory, right? Even if you pay that credit card off with another credit card, that's already in existence, not getting a new one, but just paying that one off, and now you have 13, then 12, then 11. When my daughter Brianna had 6 bottles attached to her and she was on her deathbed for 5 days, my former wife, Amy, and I, Diana knows her, we weren't focusing on getting rid of all those bottles because there's too many of them. That she had it stuck all over her. She was fighting for her life. She had water in her lungs, and it was the most difficult 5 days of my life. Then the following 5 days was her getting better. But we focused on getting rid of each bottle. So I said, okay, norepinephrine, you're going tonight, right? The norepinephrine was gone. I don't even know what it does, but it's like adrenaline. Then epinephrine, okay? The sister is gone. Epinephrine, you're gone, right? And then we went all the way down to the intravenous, IV, which is sugar water. And then once all the bottles were gone, that's like powering down debt. But Diana's job is much bigger. She's got 14 bottles to get rid of, and we can get one at a time, one by one. All right, who has the next question? All right, Justina.
Okay, actually, I need kind of clarification. When it comes to before, this is all based on research. Doesn't matter if it's online or offline. When it comes to after, this is also about the research or also about the process we want to do and we know that this will happen.
This is based on, that's a very good question. This is based on where they want to go for their transformation. So for example, if you have a single mom who wants to start a business and she has kids at home and she can't start the business because she doesn't have enough time because the other kid is the ex-husband and she's coming home and she's frustrated. What does she have? She has kids. What is she feeling? Frustrated. What's her average day? Overwork, working for another boss who's another child, dealing with the ex-husband, another child, and then, kids at home, feeding them not eating the dinner. That's her average day. What is her status? She's a single mom. She's a single mom, and she's not financially independent, and she's definitely not free. Forget financially free. What's the evil? The evil is all the things getting in the way of her business from her family. Everything she loves is the evil. Okay, so that's the before. I just made that up.
Mhm. Okay.
What's the after?
Good.
Yeah.
One more question, because good and
Well,
evil
I
before.
didn't answer your question yet. So you have another
Yes,
question before? Okay.
yes, yes, because you mentioned just about this. Because before you described the evil. So what's good before?
There is no good. The good and evil, right,
Mm-hmm.
is the evil we're focusing on before. There is a good to every evil, right? So we just focus on the evil and we know that there's a good. So between good and evil, the
Okay.
before is just the evil.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end, the after is the good, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And the evil. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you're doing both. What could be good before? Um, what could be good is she loves her kids, right? Um, she's healthy and she's still um, funding her family. That's good. What's the
Mm-hmm.
evil is all the shit that's getting in the way. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Focus on the evil first. Now, in the after, um, what does she have? Well, she has now 3 hours of free time. What does she feel? She feels a little scared because she's, launching this business, but she feels, just a breath of fresh air that she's finally mentally stimulated. A good example is Sandra Bravo. She's got to be mentally stimulated for it to be worthwhile for her. What's her average day? Well, she works just as hard, but when she comes home and she has 3 hours of free time. Okay, what's her status? Well, she's a single mom entrepreneur now. Okay, what's good in her life? Well, the good is she finally has someone to take care of the kids. Okay, so what's the product or service? Single mom nanny. Just in time single mom nanny. What's that? That's where someone from an emerging nation comes over and has like a temporary visa for 6 months or 2 years, like they do from Australia, and she's working for very little money, and the single mom can afford to pay her. She does the cooking, she takes care of the kids, she lets the mom have the free time off, and so single mom nanny. I just made it up, right? That's the product or service. So the before and the after really helps you define the product. In fact, the product is the expression of the before and the after. The product is the product of the before and after. That's the difference. You don't do it backwards. Like, we don't make the tail first and then the head, right? And every human being and every animal, the head usually is forming first, right? Then the limbs and everything else. Okay, what about market segments? Well, single mom is one market segment, right? That's just one. What about another market segment? Single dad. What's another market segment? Widowed mom. She has one less enemy, the ex-husband. Okay? So I just gave you 3 segments and I just made the product up. That's how simple it can be, and you'll get better at it than I am. So any more questions before case studies? Going once, twice. Yes, Diana.
Just very quickly, because otherwise I'm just going to take too much of the time. But I was thinking, what would be the 3 market segments for the GBO business mentoring? Just to have, we don't know yet, right?
No, we don't know. You're going to come up with it.
Okay.
Why do you think I'm teaching this at such a low cost? So you can come up with the answers. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Plus, people support what they create, right? So you're going to come up with this together. Yes, another one?
Well, actually, just from something that happened to me today, I had a session with a lady from KL, and she's doing fantastic. She was able to fill up a room from 20 people to 600 in just 2 weeks, and she's an impressed speaker, and she was coming up with an idea. And I was like, so what do you suggest I do? Obviously, as a coach, I can suggest, what do you think would be the best course forwards? And she was like, well, I don't know. And I was like, well, do you have any proof that people want what you want? So she was like, well, I don't know. So how about if you ask them? And she was like, okay, I'm going to do it live. And I'm going to ask them, and I'm going to create the course. Apparently there's an app that you can use on a phone, and they can raise their hand up, and if she gives an array of different things, then the one that is voted the most is going to be the course. I was like, wow, that's fantastic. I'll find out what the app is in case any of you is interested, and we can look it up. It has to be while you're doing a live presentation, not an online one, but it's interesting enough. So I'm kind of seeding, but just looking what will be the ideal segment for, because it might be somebody like Anthony, like big dreams, but not the money to invest. So just
you're in the trenches. You're at the front line. So you're going to be better off telling me. When I went to Japan for GBI, I only went there once. Very challenging because the Japanese, doing the whole thing in Japanese is twice as long, and then teaching it is twice as long. So I told them, I don't know what I'm going to sell you, but we're going to create it here. So what are you looking for? And so I just put it on the flip chart. And over time, I said, would you want this? Yes. This? No. This? Yes. All right. This is what we're going to include. Right? It's got to be $2,000. So would you like to add anything else? And then I made my sale that way.
Perfect.
So it's no different. Leo, you had a question?
Yeah, a little bit more. You give a lot of examples and talking about the segments, but also I am curious. It's kind of obvious, but I'm curious why you is limiting your segments for more than 500 franchisors or more than 500 employees. And can you give a little bit of light in why you, what are the reasons why you choose that way?
I'll give you one reason. During a virtual book tour, we take the Kindle to 99 cents. If we get more than 100 sales, 150 sales within 72 hours is an Amazon bestseller. Do we have a guaranteed Amazon bestseller?
Nope.
How? No?
We have a lot of people maybe buying because of the authority of the CEO. It's probably that we get, but I don't believe it's guaranteed.
Well, I do, and I know we'll guarantee a bestseller if half of the employees buy. If they don't buy, I fire them for $1, So the answer is yes, we're guaranteed a bestseller, and that's why 500. Now, will I take one with 100? I will. Now, the other thing I'm going to do, which I didn't discuss, is I'm going to create a buying network where people need to buy 25 Kindle books within a whole year process, and all of you are welcome to join. What am I giving you in return? Virtual Book Tour Secrets 2.0. How much is it? $2,500. So if you want to exchange $25 for a $2,500 course, then that's the buying network, and you got to do it every damn time, otherwise you're out. So that's my buying network. Can I get 100 to 200 people? I think so. That's going to be Sandra's job. Sandra thought she had 250 buyers with Mike Koenig's group. Mike Koenig is selling his business. We didn't have any more than 10 people buy from that group. And Sandra was shocked. She should be thanking me for not embarrassing her in front of other people she was going to charge, because she was focused on those people buying. And that was a fake. It didn't work because Mike has lost the luster from that group. Why? Because they did their book, they're done, and they don't want to deal with that stuff. That's why they're not doing it. Is it Mike's fault? No, but he's responsible. Well, if Sandra's certified, she's counting on bestseller through that group to buy. Well, we found out through 2 virtual book tours that group ain't buying. My group buys, but that group that she's part of, that certification that she went through and she spent a lot of time with, thank God Mike is not her boyfriend, because I would have heard it if my group didn't buy. Because imagine how bad someone looks if you're the certified book buyer and you're not guaranteeing an Amazon bestseller. That was the whole reason why that bestseller concept that she studied, which is a great concept, but the buying group is not buying. Now, I was pretty sore about it. It had nothing to do with Sandra, but how can you say you got 300 people, 250 people going to buy a 99-cent book and they're not buying? They didn't buy my book. They didn't buy Craig's book. They didn't buy Greg's book. So we went from Aussie to Mexico to, North America, and they didn't buy the book. So now I have to not only find the CEO with the built-in buying network, if my network doesn't buy, I need to have a hedge against that. And that's why I'm going after those CEOs. So my before, which was these first virtual book tours. Now, you know, Leo, because you're with me. I said, we're testing this, right? Sandra didn't know they wouldn't buy. Sandra put it out there. They didn't buy, right? That's a big problem if you're guaranteeing a bestseller. You can't charge someone thousands of dollars, guarantee a bestseller, and the buying group doesn't buy. So no one really talked much about that, but it's a big deal as a business owner. And because I'm at the top of the food chain, that's what I look at. Okay, that wasn't a favor. Sandra is certified, and that's what she's supposed to be getting from Mike's group. Now, if Sandra didn't get it, I guarantee you the other people didn't get it. And if other people aren't getting it, then it's the village wine story. Well, if, you know, it's not going to work with me. I'm not going to buy this. You know, you're not doing your part. I'm not going to do it. And all of a sudden, the whole thing falls apart, right? So it's very delicate. And so you have to bribe them in a very delicate way. I'm going to bribe all of you and whoever else wants to do it. You give me 25 bucks, and that means buying one book at a time and doing a review, and I will give you a $2,500 course, and that course will teach you how to do this whole process, right? That's a good bribe. But if I say, hey, when you write your book, we're going to all be part of it, and we're going to all buy, great. Now, after you've had your intensive, like he has people go in there, Sandra did this, and other people did it as well. And I think you may know, some of you may know some of the other people that went through. One was from Australia, a husband and wife. So they go through it. And while they're there, they're all excited. And, you know, we're faking like we're high status. We're taking video and we're making it look like we're doing interviews and shit like that. It's all bullshit. It's all making us think we're bigger. And then our head trash comes back and say, hey, I got a bestseller, but I'm still here. I just got this Amazon bestseller thing. I'm not an expert yet. I haven't done the work. That's the problem. Sandra's the exception. Sandra was, she already had a platform and she was Mike's favorite student because she already had everything. After you go through that intensive and you do your book thing, well, a year down the line, that network is not around anymore, not unless they keep doing the intensives and get fresh blood. So that model is broken. That's not, it has the right intention. It wasn't done deliberately, but the promise is broken because the people are not motivated and inspired to keep buying. Why should they? They have enough Kindles. They probably have 200-300 Kindles by now, you know? So they just quit buying. That is a threat. So that's why knowing that, you know, my maturity was I didn't complain about that. That was the biggest issue. Like, oh my gosh. What happened to my 200 book sales for Kindle? What happened? Gone. Didn't happen, right? So I saw that, and so that's an after. Oh, that's a before. That's a before. So I tested it with 3, and I go, well, there's no way I'm going to rely on this certification that Sandra has with Mike's group. I'm going to create my own group. Well, how can I already have one? So if my group doesn't do it, they'll be buyers, CEOs with 500 franchisees or more, 500 employees or more, or 10,000 downline or more. That's where that comes from. You see the way we adapt? Okay. And that will guarantee a bestseller. I got bestseller status and we sold 50 books. You know, it was embarrassing. But no one knows that. But I got my bestseller status with my, have you seen the spine that came from Mexico? There's no printing. You know?
Marketing. Yeah.
It's crazy. But I know how I'm going to sell those. You know, we're going to sell that through the self-liquidator program where they pay for shipping and handling and they get the book for free. And we'll get rid of those and we'll go through the next round. Sandra's already redesigning it. But all that stuff I did for me so that when we do Beyond Book Sales, we've gone through all of this growing pain. Can you imagine I go to a franchisor and Sandra's counting on people to follow through? She doesn't know because she hadn't done one except for her book, but she did it when she went through. So all her people bought. But what about the future? The promise is you're a certified, you know, coach for this book thing. Doesn't matter if it's a year later. It's a broken model. And Mike should have thought of that. But he didn't. So now he's selling the business and they got to redo the network. It's a great idea, and we're going to do our own network. But this is why you test with your own stuff, which is why I did the virtual book tour thing with 3 of my two of my friends. I'm going to do another one in 2 weeks. I'm going to hit you all up for 99 cents, scale or fail. And I'm going to see, how that goes, because they have a network. That's Allison Maslin. And that's been the biggest challenge with people going and buying the book, doing a review, and going to the webinar. We had a few people on the webinar, like 3 or 4 people. Can you imagine? I thought we'd have hundreds. Okay, so that was a failure. Okay, so how do we adapt? We invite everyone to the webinar. We don't do it just because it's the review, right? And then we make sure we have a big enough buying network in order for people to say yes. That's all. You just have to bribe them properly. You give me 25, I'll give you 2,500. I don't know if it's a good bribe or not, but we're going to find out. It's better than what we have. All right? Okay, while Zita stays warm, let's keep going. All right, so the next thing is the case studies. Yeah, that was for you, Zita. Now, this is a case study. It's a YouTube video. You can look at it, and you can actually see the YouTube video. Now, I have one question for you. Is this the before, or is this the after? The product is called Chat Books, and the segment is for stay-at-home moms, mommy bloggers, and baby retailers, right? Those are the segments. But is this mom before or after? Raise your hand if it's before. Raise your hand if it's after. What's this, Diana? Is that before or after? Oh my God, Diana. Is this the before, if you were to guess? Yes or no? Is it the after? I don't know. Maybe a bubble bath is not something you like, but for a busy mom, a bubble bath going, is the after, okay? So let's look at this. Boy, I thought that was the easiest question for the entire session. All right. So the before, what have we got for before? You have this already. So actually customer segments. So we're going after stay-at-home moms. Where do we find them? They're everywhere. We know what they read. We know what they do. Mommy bloggers. They're moms. They stay at home and they're blogging. And then baby retailers. Okay. That's a B2B segment. I don't like that segment as much. I like the first two. Okay, great. Now, baby retailers, do they sell to stay-at-home moms? Yeah. Do they sell to mommy bloggers? Yeah. So once you get a big enough demand, now you can go to the baby retailer and say, look at all this distribution we got. The name of the product is called Chat Books, and it's an actual product. So the before, what's the before? Well, there are thousands of, see, I'm not going to tell you what the product is. I'm going to let you figure out what it is. It's step 4, and you have it in your notes in one of the files. Thousands of pictures stuck on your phone. What do you do with all that, Mom? There's a bunch of pictures. What do you do with that? You just keep going like this, right? Thousands. You're overwhelmed. You're frustrated. You're tired. That's what you're feeling. Your average day, it's chaos mixed with these cute moments of kids pooping in their pants, right? Cute moments until you have to clean the poop. The status, frazzled mom, and everyone is pitying her. Like, you're a multitasker. You're working too hard. Come on, you deserve more. And what is the good versus evil? Well, life is moving way too fast. And before I know it, I need something to hold on to these memories. What's a picture? A picture is a memory. It's put as a still. What's a movie? It's a moving picture memory. Okay, so what do you have after? Well, you have, once you, don't you want a magazine of your life? You take all these random pictures that you had before, and you put them into like this magazine where you can look into one place and just kind of check shit out, right? A physical magazine. How will you feel when you have that? Productive, accomplished? What's your average day? Well, it's still chaotic, but the cute moments are finally remembered because those are the pictures being taken. That's why you have time for a bath late at night. What's the status that you have with the product? You're a scrapbooking supermom. You know, there's finally a place to put all these damn pictures, which were just random. And then good versus evil. Well, you're able to finally slow life down and take a look at these pictures in a physical format. So what's the product or service? It's a done-for-you photo album, and it's called Chat Books, and it's a real product. That's a real-life example. Check it out. All right, so that's a real-life example. What if you had a baby product, and this well, let me show you what this looks like so that you know that you already have it, because I gave it to you. Okay, that's what it looks like. You have that in your files. Take a look. This is how you're going to learn how to speak this way, because this is a very notice how, look at all that information in just less than probably 50 words, maybe less than 100 words. All of that. It's incredible. It's incredible, the power of this. Okay, next, let's say you have this baby product. And let's say, I'll go straight to the fourth step. Let's say it's a soft, squishy bathtub. Okay, that's your product. So for some reason, you came up with the product first because you thought that people would like this, the mommies and babies would like it. All right, so it's a soft and squishy bathtub. Now, how's the bathtub usually? Hard, cold, porcelain. Soft, squishy, warm. Baby loves that. Baby's bottom loves that. All right, so what's the market segment? New moms, brand new mom. Next, mommy bloggers. Next, baby retailers. Almost the same as the other product. Okay, what do they have right now? They have a cold, hard bathtub for the kid. Usually it's cold, hard. Sometimes it's portable, so it's cold plastic. I know we have at least 2 moms here, so I know you know what I'm talking about, but those were many, many years back. I don't remember, but I still know what a cold tub feels like to my butt, and I'm an adult, all right? So I'd rather have warm and squishy. How do they feel? Well, the baby feels frustrated and scared. It's cold. They don't like the bath. That's what they remember when they first go in the tub. I remember Brianna. The average day, bath time is terrible. It's the worst thing. When they go in. Once they finally calm down, rubber ducky, warm butt. They don't know why the baby is crying. The baby's crying because it's freaking cold. Their butt is cold, right? What's the status? Well, mom feels unappreciated by the baby, and there's nothing worse, okay? And good versus evil, well, you just can't have it all. You know, you want it all, but you just can't have it all. You know, you're going to have a hard bathtub. Oh, really? What's the after? What do they have? Warm, squishy bathtub. Yum. It's so squishy and warm. What's the feeling? Oh, I feel so confident. I put the baby in. The baby goes, oh, I like this, right? Boy or girl. Average day. Bath time is enjoyable. Now, make sure you know average day, because this is something that Justina would ask. Alex, what do you mean by average day? Average day with the product. You know, average day of what the experience would be in this one part of your life. Not average day throughout. You could be having a great bath and then your husband yells at you. That's not the squishy bath thing's fault, right? That's a bad marriage, okay? So we're talking about average day. So bath time is enjoyable. What's the status? Supermom, okay? And what's the good versus evil? You can have it all. You can have it all with a squishy bathtub that you're going to use about a year. All right, lawn care. Here we go, lawn care. Just so you know, these are all examples. I know you learn through examples better. What's the customer segment? A homeowner, and usually men, fathers. You know, they're doing their own lawn care, okay, like I used to do. Okay, what's the before? Dead grass, weeds. Wife is looking at you saying, can't you do anything right? Look at this lawn. What's the feeling? Is annoyance, exhaustion, ineptitude. I can't even keep my lawn alive. What's the average day? Now, this is brilliant. Your Saturdays and weekends are wasted because you're working on the lawn the whole time. You can't even get it to live anymore, right? So your Saturdays are gone. What's the status? You're forced to work the land. You have enough issues with the spouse and the kids and the boss, and now you got to work your own land, right? And it looks like shit because it's all dead. And what's good versus evil? You are a prisoner in your own castle. You're a prisoner in your own castle. All right. So what's the after? Gorgeous green lawn. What's the feeling? Powerful, well rested, adequate. You know, you just became a better lover because your lawn looks better. Average day, your Saturday is all yours again. You can take the family out on an outing and say, look at that lawn. Better yet, you can play croquet on the lawn or catch on the lawn. The lawn looks great. What's the status? You have the best lawn on the block. Now, these are all copy points, right? These are copywriting points. And then what's the good versus evil? Now you're the king of your castle. You're the king of the castle because you have this beautiful lawn. Now, I don't know if you know what this feels like, but I had a shitty lawn, which I was taking care of when I bought my first home. Why? Because I was working my ass off and the lawn looked like shit, right? So I got a gardener to come and the lawn looked better. My then wife, Amy, had felt that was disrespectful because her perfect man, which I'm not, her perfect man was like her dad. Doesn't matter if you make money or not, right? So never mind you have the house. The perfect man is having like a piece of wheat in your mouth, right? Like a Queenslander. You have your overalls, you're mowing the lawn, and you're doing all the handyman work and all this shit. That's the perfect man, right? So I was not that. I just got a lawn care professional, and he spoke very little English, but he really knew how to have a green lawn. And I could give a damn that I did the lawn or not. So this would not be for me, Acme Lawn Care. This is a make-believe thing, but it would not be for me. So what's the product? What's the service? Fertilizer, sprinkler, install, repair kit, mowing and maintenance. You know, it also it could be one of those tractor lawns, you know, with the bigger lawns. That way you're just, now you really feel like the king because you're not doing any work. You just have a new car, right? Sandra has that in her backyard because her backyard is huge. Jackie knows that. All right, and then there's two more, but you can go through them yourselves. One is for Digital Marketer, which is Ryan Dice's company, and the other one is Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A. The writing is kind of messed up, but Chick-fil-A is a chicken fast food place. It's Christian based. They're closed on Sundays. They're always closed on Sundays because they go to church. It's their Sabbath. It is awesome. They have the best advertisements and things like that, right? So they have these ads where they have these cows, and the cows are pretending to be like human beings, and they're going, buy more Chick-fil-A, buy more Chick-fil-A, because cows are steak, right? So it's really, really good advertising. You can look them up online, but that's the final one. It looks like this, and you'll see it. It's the most valuable thing I've given you so far. I think ever. You may not realize it now, but when you start doing this, you go, oh my gosh, on one page, less than 100 words, you have an entire company. So make as many of these as you can. In the beginning, it's going to look messy. You're not going to feel that you're getting it, okay? Keep going through the Shawshank Redemption Tunnel, right? Go. This that 3-hour movie. If you haven't seen it, see it. You're walking through that thing. Get to the other side fast and start making this thing sing, because you are going to come up with, all of you together, that's going to be your project. Module 3 is going to be your project. It's not your responsibility to do the growth ramp. That's mine. And there's other things you'll be learning in the future, like the customer path, the value path. But this will be the class project to come up and get together and together come up with the matrix. So I'm just warning you, I'm seeding it. You're going to come up and I'm going to evaluate it. It's going to be the class final exam. So you have several weeks, you know, to deal with it, but start getting better at it, because the sooner you do it, the better. All right, let's go to questions. I know, Jackie, you and I have an appointment right after this. So questions. You already know I'm excited about it because I just have to teach it. I don't have to do the work. I'd love to do the work, but I'd probably be wrong. And I wouldn't be supporting you. And that has been my biggest failure, is doing the work for you. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do a transition so it doesn't seem so harsh, but you're noticing I'm giving you the work and having you do it versus just saying, okay, do this. No, I don't know who the segments are. Diana was very insightful. Have you done it for GBO? No. Are you going to do it? No, you are. And you don't have to do it late at night in Europe, okay? Because these are tough, tough calls for Zita and Diana. You see Jackie's going, hey, this is great, man. That's cool. Justina's going, oh, boy, okay. And Zita's like freezing to death, so I wish we were in the summer, right? And then Leo's going, okay, well, it's not past my bedtime yet. But, you know, Jackie's the one that's got it the easiest, and, of course, Michelle when she's around. But anyway, I'll handle any questions you got. Otherwise, we will shut it down and go for final comments. All right. So before we shut it down, here are the case studies. Okay, you can see the chat book on YouTube. It's a very, very clever commercial. Acme Baby Products, Make-Believe Company. Acme Lawn Care, Make-Believe Company, digital marketer. That's a real company, and it went from 5 million to over 40 million using this process. What obstacles are you going to get in your way? What obstacles? Number one, when you create the message first, which is the product or service. That will get in your way with your people. I have a great idea. Don't tell me about your idea. Tell me about your market. Well, it's for everybody. No, that's not your market. Okay. Number two, unclear about the shift. What's the shift? If you're unclear about the before and after, look at the case studies. Get really clear so the before and after is like black and white, different. You want to get them to aspire for the after. You want them to be motivated. Let me tell you something. You can't motivate anybody. You cannot. If you look at the root words, motivate comes from the root word motive, right? You can't give someone their motive. They have to have it. You can only have self-motivated people. I can't motivate you, but we have a lot of self-motivated people. We have two people who said they couldn't make it, and they made those announcements on Facebook. Now, if they knew earlier, it would have been nicer to get it earlier. But one of them really made good points with me because he gave me a debrief about not being understood and then adapting and, you know, getting from 0 sales to 10% of the room. That really stood well with me. So when he says I can't make it, then I'm fine with that, right? So unclear about the shift, you need to get them self-motivated so that that transformation, that shift is big. Before, after, fuzziness, fuzzy targets don't get hit. So if your before, after is fuzzy, which means that the shift is not clear, these two are very, very important obstacles besides creating the message first. And then I'll go back to this. I said it once. You want to change the segment. Don't change the model. I'm not going to change the ZLM marketing model. That'd be such a waste. It'd be 1 year, and it would take opportunity away from the ZLM mentors. I'm going to change the market segment. Change the segment before you change the model. A model is so much more difficult to change. So much more difficult. You know, with all the marketing funnels and all the stuff that Zita's doing right now, imagine changing all that shit, right? I'm in the process of changing something with my funnel. It's a nightmare. And the funnel is, instead of doing the intake first, we take them to the appointment, and then they get the appointment, then they do the intake. And then if they don't do the intake, then they don't get on the appointment. I have a friend doing that who thinks I'm his mentor, right? And his name is Joe DiMaria. You'll meet him. And I took him to Genius Network. That's the way he does it. And we're sitting at the table with Sandra, and I said, damn it, you go to the appointment first? Yeah. Does that work better for you? Yeah, because they get the appointment, and then they do the intake. He doesn't charge them for it. But then if they haven't done the intake within 24 hours of, you know, the meeting, they're gone. They're out. And he has a system to do that. So I'm going to learn it. It's a nightmare for me because I got to re-record videos, right? I got to re-record because that's not how I had the system set up. My final point is this. The message is an expression or is an expressed outcome, the fourth step of the before and after matrix. The message or your product is the expression or the outcome from the before-after matrix. That's why it comes last. So yeah, you can talk about the target segment, right? But talk about the segment is the big group, the before is an individual, and the after is an individual, and then what are we going to give these people? Everyone is somehow enamored, infatuated, in love with coming up with the message or the product or service first. So I came up with the segment, CEO franchisors. What do they want? They need a legacy. They need a book. So they haven't written one. Perfect. So far, so good. Well, I want to write one with a traditional publisher. Not perfect. Gone. My typical day looks like I'm working all night just to write the book, and I'm exhausted, and it's lowering my productivity at work. You're perfect, except for the traditional publisher thing. Okay, but if I self-publish, how am I going to do it? Well, we'll tell you all about that. What do you want your day to look like? Well, I want to be able to write in the next 3 months. I want to have a international bestseller, definitely on Amazon. I want to get more speaking gigs. Great. So what's your average day look like after you've written a book? Well, I'm having my executive assistant get speaking gigs, and maybe I'm getting invitations to trade association meetings where I can speak because I have a book now. Great. I'm your guy. It's called Beyond Book Sales. It's what you do after the book is a bestseller that counts, not before. What do you mean? Well, let's talk for 30 minutes and you'll find out. Fill in this intake. That's going to be it. I know how to do an intake. I know how to do appointments. I know how to close sales. But I don't want to do it with entrepreneurs who don't have any money, or I feel like I'm taking their last ounce of nectar out of the fruit, right? So that's why I'm going after another market segment. It's pretty much what I've been doing, but something that's very concrete, not an idea that we're working on, because that's so hard. I thought it was creative. It was a headache. So I'm not doing that anymore. That's your headache, because you'll be having that. Who knows? Maybe GBO business may be entrepreneurs who want to write the book, and then we'll have $15,000 mentoring on how to do that. Who knows? We may go that direction if GBO business doesn't work in another way. Be open to the opportunity. The segment is much easier to change than the marketing model. If you know how to business coach, then you can change any segment that you want within that realm. All right, final word, Diana, go for it. Thank you for staying up and your commitment and taking over for Michelle when you did. What's the big takeaway or final word you want to share?
The before-after matrix.
Okay, well, good. That was, you don't have to be creative to have a great idea. That was good. All right, Justina.
Transformation.
What is it?
Transformation. But this is also related to before, after.
Oh, confirmation. Okay.
Transformation.
Oh, transformation.
Transformation. Yes.
Okay. So I'm confirming that you said transformation. Very good. All right. Zita.
We'll be able to give a roadmap for the transformation. Yes.
Uh-huh. You can use this in your business right now. Right now you can use this. Jackie. Jackie, you have such great color. Have you been in the sun? What's going on?
I have been in the sun, yes. I'm very lucky to be where I am.
Yeah, that's true. It's winter here, so we're pale, so these Europeans, they're not going to see a sun for the next 6 months, so you're very lucky.
Come visit.
All right, what's your big takeaway?
For me, it's about having a strategy and a process to go through and removing the guesswork.
Very good. Well, this is one, but it's my favorite one. And Leo.
Simplicity.
Okay, good.
Simple works.
Thank you. For me, I just wanted to teach it because I haven't taught it yet. I feel like I know it well. I think I'm literate at it, but I'm not fluent. So thank you for allowing me to teach it. And I want to know what was unclear, what was clear, so I get better and better at it. I'm going to shut down the recording. Jackie, I'll want to talk to you. Give me 10 minutes break, okay? Then we'll do our little quiz and put you on the spot. And then you can see if she posts saying, oh, no, or oh, yes. So you'll see what happens. The next step after I shut this, Diana, are you taking the recording or is Michelle? You're taking. Okay, very good. So I'm going to shut it.